This is my 40-gallon breeder Bioactive Leopard Gecko Vivarium, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of maintenance on it. So some of the plants have overgrown and some of the plants are doing so well, so we're going to look at that, and I'm mainly just going to be trimming and working with the plants. Okay, so I noticed that some maintenance needed to be done, so I figured I would film it. So like I said, this is my Bioactive Leopard Gecko Terrarium. I have a couple aloe plants, and then I have some spineless prickly pear, and then some other random succulents. Honestly, I couldn't tell you what they were exactly, but unfortunately it looks like this spineless prickly pear is dying, and I have no idea why, but the main pad is. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this part off, and hopefully I can get that to grow roots, and hopefully that will be successful. As for the aloe plants, they have been doing extremely well, and they are sending up a ton of more aloe plants, so that's really cool. And then the other succulents, other random succulents, seem to be doing pretty well as well. As for the leopard gecko, this is Beth. She's a couple years old. She's been doing well, and she hides in there. As I've talked about in other videos, I do want to work on renovating this enclosure a bit and making the hide so I can actually get her out, but yet still keep that very naturalistic aesthetic. And also I want to create a proper drainage layer and add more substrate. So those are kind of my goals at some point, but as of now, I'm just working on these plants. So first I'm going to cut this, and I have these scissors. I'm not entirely sure where they came from, and they might be like hair cutting scissors. And then I also have these scissors. So both of them are very clean, but I wanted to see if these were better for plants. I'm not entirely sure. So I guess I'm just gonna try to snip it here and see how this goes. If it cuts it, then it does. But I was thinking these scissors look like they would give a very clean cut, and it seems like that was a very clean cut. So I'm hoping that this piece here is still alive and it wasn't dying with the rest of the plants. It seems like it wasn't. So we have it, and I'm gonna let it dry for a day or two, and then I will stick it in the ground and hopefully it will start growing. But unfortunately, it looks like this pad is not making it, and what I'm thinking happened is I overwatered this tank once, and that caused this to kind of saturate and die off, because as you can pretty obviously see, this one over here seems to be doing very well. So hopefully the same type of deal doesn't happen to it, and it doesn't get as much water, because I feel like the water kind of heads this way when I water the tank. And I do water this tank a lot, even though it is a leopard gecko tank. I tend to water it quite a bit. So I'll probably throw this in my iguana's cage so then it can decompose there for that. So for now, I'll just set that away. And then the issue going on, here I'll show you, with this tank mainly is that these aloe plants are growing way too tall, which you're like, that's an issue? Well, yes, it is. They're actually growing way too much. So that could be another thing that killed that cactus pad, is that this plant's completely hanging over it. So when I put all these plants in, they were originally going straight up, and now they're all the way curved, and that's causing some problems. So as you can see, they're also sending up new plants here. So this one was more like half the size. Actually, all of these were half the size when I planted them in here. So this one right here was more like the size of that one when I planted it. So it was down, and now it's almost if the buds when I planted these are now the size of the original plants. So they're really kind of spreading. So there's those three, then there's this one coming up, and then this one coming up inside of this, and then as well there's one back there which I just noticed, and there's probably more coming up somewhere else. So what I'm thinking is that maybe possibly I can cut these like around here or something, and then replant them and try to get them to grow. If they don't, then that's just it. I can't really do anything else. It seems like the top of this one is all right. Like, it's kind of maxed out maybe at the top. It's not going to grow too much more because this heat light, this ceramic heat emitter, is really hot, and it kind of blocks the growth of these two. So I'm not going to mess with those two too much besides cut off the dead stuff. But this one and this one are what I'm worried about. So I'm going to go trim those down and then try to prop them up so then get them going straight again. So I'm going to use these scissors because they seem to work pretty well. And then I'm going to get this one first and try to get it up and then cut it where I think it would do well. So here's the top, and I'm really hoping I can get this to grow as a new plant. I would think I would be able to, so we will see, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm not super skilled in that area of getting succulents to to propagate succulents. So hopefully I'll be able to manage, and then I need to figure out some way to keep this propped up. Oh, there goes a leaf, I guess. So I'm not sure if I need to, I think something like that. That helps a little bit. It's not perfect, but it's definitely better, I think. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this other plant right here. So I think I could definitely do like a open top setup with leopard geckos, and I could have, or a leopard gecko, and I could have the top open. But if I didn't have this background, then I would definitely do that and just let the plants grow and grow and grow just to see. But since I do have this background, which I really like and I think looks amazing, I cannot do that because the leopard gecko does have the ability to actually crawl out of the tank. So here I cut off the top of that one as well, and then this piece fell down. And the nice thing is these are aloe, so I believe I could just feed whatever falls down to the green iguana. So I'm gonna chop off these as well. So like I said, I can feed these to the green iguana, and I have before. So then these don't, the goal is that they don't touch the lid anymore. So these small pieces I'll just drop down for the isopods, because this does, for the cleanup crew, like I said, this was bioactive. We have giant canyon isopods, and they seem to work really well for this. And then I believe there might be springtails in here, but I'm not entirely sure. So I'm just going to continue chopping off. I feel bad. I really don't like trimming plants. I like to just let plants grow and kind of just see how big they get in a way. But I just can't do that here because the plants are just, they're really in the way for closing the tank, and I feel bad to just keep hitting them every time I close it. So I'm going to go try to set up or get some new plants growing, which I think would be very cool. So there, I've chopped them all off, and that should provide some more light in areas like down here and different things like that. So here you can see the area is just completely shaven off now. Nothing is sticking up above. So now the plan is I have a new plant, a small one. It's just kind of like about that size that I'm going to plant right in there. And also I have to clean the glass real quick and then I'll be done. I would water this tank, but like I said, I think I overwatered it a little bit, which might have killed that cactus pad. I'm not entirely sure if that's true, but that is kind of a bit of a theory. So let's real quick plant that and then wipe down the glass. So I got this plant, somebody gave it to me, and it's just a small little succulent here. And I think I'm just gonna, I was gonna plant it right where that other plant is, but I think I'm actually going to plant it more like right here. And this soil is super moist. But what I did is I cleaned this plant off. I got it bare roots, which tends to be just fine with succulents. I generally don't have a problem with that. I have had trouble with other plants. If I get them down to bare roots, then they don't do so well. But succulents, have always done pretty well for me. And here, let's spread the leaf litter a little bit to kind of cover up where that cactus pad was. And hopefully none of this hurts the new sprouts that are coming up. I hope that they continue doing well and everything. So it's just a little bit of maintenance, and then I'm gonna try to sink this bowl down. It's not exactly level, and I think I could maybe, never mind. The bowl sits right on top of one of the roots of these aloe plants, so it looks like I'm not going to be able to sink the bowl too far down. But the problem there was that the bowl was just not very level, so it couldn't hold as much water as it would be able to if it was completely level. Okay, so I repositioned that aloe to go up, so I'm going to have to trim a little bit off. But to clean the glass on here, I'm going to just spray it down with my mister, and then I generally use old shirts to clean the glass because they don't seem to use they don't seem to leave like a residue like towels would, so they tend to be good. I always use them, and sometimes I use towels to just like wash down the front of my fish tanks and stuff and terrariums, as in this case. So every once in a while, I don't get a whole lot of stains on the glass. Just every once in a while when I'm watering the tank or something, I'll hit the glass a little bit, but it generally takes a long time to build up like it is now. So it looks like the front glass is also pretty dirty, just probably from me working on fish tank stuff in my room, splashing water around. So I'm actually gonna just do the same exact thing, actually. And I like to just use water. I don't use anything else because I don't want to, harm the animals in any way or anything like that. So I tend just to use water to clean the glass off. I think that looks a whole lot better. So now I'm going to trim this plant a little bit more, just so then there's very little resistance when I go to put on the lid, which I think will be a whole lot better just working around this tank. So now I can go ahead and add in the lid, and now I'll show you what I'm doing with everything that I cut off today. So as for the plants that I'm trying to propagate, I have the spineless prickly pear, which, like I said, I'm going to let sit for a day or two to kind of let it callus, and that's exactly what I did with the mother plant before I properly planted it. So that'll just sit. Then these, I'm gonna do the same thing because honestly I have no idea what I'm doing with these. So like I said, I'm gonna try to propagate them, but I'm not entirely sure that I can do that. But I'm just gonna remove the bottom leaf here and the stuff around it, and then I'm just gonna leave it sit with the cactus. So I'm gonna do the same thing here, and then I think again as well, because I don't know, that kind of makes sense to me. I don't know, I'm not entirely sure. So hopefully I can get something from these and get them to grow. If not, I can probably feed whatever remains to my green iguana. So speaking of that, I can take all of these and go ahead and drop those in my green iguana's cage for the green iguana to actually consume. And then the only other thing we have is this, and you can see this is rotting. It's all saturated and baggy and gross, and I will put that in the green iguana's cage, not for the green iguana, but for the isopods. But you can see where this was connected is actually kind of still good. So I'm wondering if this is also edible to my green iguana, and I wonder if I could just go ahead and actually wait, it's just gonna break away. So you can see all the rotted bit around it, and it kind of smells too, and it's just breaking right away because it's rotted and it's dripping, because of course it is. And then see if I can just cut this. So I'll put this on his food platter, and I'll put this in the back where he won't really see it, but the isopods will. And that is pretty much it. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a maintenance video, and if you have a bioactive leopard gecko terrarium, go down to the comments and tell me what plants you have in it, or just tell me that you have it, and that would be super cool. So on top of that, if you'd like to see more content like this and other animal related videos, like I said, I have the green iguana and a bunch of other animals, then subscribe. And as always, have a great, fantastic day.